Okay, let's dive right into this. Welcome to today's Explainer, where we're embarking on a journey of absolutely epic proportions. We're going way back, several millennia, to trace the literal origins of an ancient and incredibly influential people. We're going to look at how a massive climate shift, fierce tribal resource wars, and this fundamental cosmic struggle between light and darkness ended up shaping not just a physical territory, but the entire spiritual and social foundation of the Iranian nation. Now, I want you to listen to this quote from the Vendidad, which is one of the ancient texts of the Aryan people. It really sets the stage for us. We so often look at mythology as just, well, fabricated stories. But for the Aryans living in the 2nd millennium BCE, these accounts were their lived reality. This was their historical record. This quote perfectly captures their deep, profound connection to their homeland, a place they revered absolutely above all else, while also acknowledging that a divine hand had crafted the rest of the world just to keep their sanctuary safe from envy. Section 1. The Aryan Homeland. Mapping Aryana Vayeja. To really get our heads around the cosmic and spiritual journeys we're about to explore, we first have to understand the earthly setting where this whole story took place. And when we talk about the ancient Iranian Plateau, we are talking about a staggering expanse of territory. Just look at the scale of this. It started way out east in present-day Tajikistan, swept right through Uzbekistan, Turkmenistan, and most of Afghanistan. Then it stretched down across Makran into Pakistan, traversed all of what we now call Iran, and reached all the way up into the Caucasus and greater Kurdistan. The ancient inhabitants called this massive footprint Aryana Waja, meaning the dwelling place of the Aryans. Today, you'd pronounce it Iran-Zamin or Iran-Zamin, literally, the land of the Aryans. Section 2. Gods of the Natural World. A celestial pantheon. Now, what's really fascinating here is how these early Aryans viewed the divine, which was very different from other ancient civilizations like Mesopotamia or Elam. They didn't worship statues or idols, and they didn't have prophet kings. Instead, they worshiped celestial manifestations. Take Mithra, for instance. Mithra was the life-giving deity of the sun, the ultimate source of illumination. But on a deeper level, Mithra represented absolute universal love and friendship. He shone on the whole world, bringing the seasons and sustaining life for literally everyone, good and bad. And here is a fantastic linguistic connection for you. Mithra is the root of the modern Persian word mehraban, which means kind. So to be kind literally means to be a guardian of Mithra's affection. But of course, you can't have the day without the night. So in contrast to Mithra, but working in perfect harmony with him, was Varuna. Varuna was the deity of destiny, ruling over the night sky and the stars. The way they saw it, while Mithra governed the daytime and our current life in this world, Varuna took over at night and governed the life to come. Together, these two celestial beings were the grand orchestrators of time itself, seamlessly managing that continuous, endless cycle of light and darkness. And they weren't alone up there in the heavens either. You also have deities like Anahita, the holy deity of rain, flowing rivers, and fertility, who brought life-giving waters down to the earth. There was Atar too, the deity of warmth and fire, who kept homes safe from the freezing winter cold. Looking at this pantheon, you can see just how intimately connected these ancient people were to their environment. For them, every breeze, every rain cloud, and every sunrise had a divine purpose. It's a really beautiful perspective on nature that, honestly, we kind of lose sight of today. All right, so sitting above all those nature deities, in the absolute highest heavens were two brother creators, Ahur and Deva. Now, originally, they peacefully coexisted and divided the cosmos. Ahur was the supreme god of the day, and Deva ruled the night. But as Aryan society grew and evolved on Earth, their gods evolved with them. The peaceful, settled farmers gravitated toward Ahur, associating him with peace, order, and covenants. On the flip side, the nomadic pastoralist tribes, who lived a much more rugged, militant lifestyle, naturally aligned themselves with Deva, the god of wrath and war. So the heavens became a perfect mirror of the two distinct lifestyles of the Aryan people. Section 3. The Great Schism. The inciting incident. So the crucial point here is that this peaceful balance, both up in the sky and down on the ground, gets completely shattered by an environmental crisis. It's basically a massive domino effect. Early in the 2nd millennium BCE, a severe climate shift drastically decreases rainfall across the entire plateau. Less rain means less vegetation, which leads to immediate and desperate food scarcity. With population still growing but resources shrinking, vicious tribal warfare erupts over whatever fertile land is left. And because everything in the ancient world was tied to religion, the tribes ended up weaponizing their gods. The farmers worshipping Ahur and the nomads worshipping Deva began cursing each other's deities, forever tearing apart that cosmic brotherhood. You can imagine the psychological fallout of these resource wars.
The nomadic tribes who follow Deva were using the cover of darkness to conduct violent raids on the farming villages. And remember, the night was Deva's divine domain. So for the peaceful villagers worshipping Ahur, these terrifying nighttime attacks cemented Deva as the ultimate source of aggression and evil. Deva went from being a respected brother god to a hated anti-god. This intense, agonizing struggle between light and darkness, which was literally born out of a climate-driven resource war, went on to become the absolute cornerstone of Iranian religion.
Section 4. Migrations and Conquests. The Aryan Divergence. So now the battle lines are permanently drawn, and these two groups simply cannot share the same land anymore. We start with that peaceful duality in the early 2nd millennium BCE. Then, right in the middle of the millennium, that climate shift hits and sparks the Great Schism. By the late 2nd millennium BCE, the warlike, nomadic Deva worshippers actually pack up and leave. They migrate outward in these massive waves toward India, Anatolia, and Eastern Europe. But the Ahur worshippers, the sedentary farmers, they stay put right there on the plateau, and they go on to build what we eventually know as the Iranian nation. And this brilliantly illustrates how interconnected all of our ancient history actually is. Get this. When those migrating warlike Deva worshippers pushed all the way into the Balkan Peninsula and helped form early Greek civilization, they brought their god with them. Over time, linguistic shifts happened, and the name Deva evolved into Deus and eventually became Zeus, the king of the Greek gods. It's just wild to think about. There's a direct historical thread linking a climate conflict on the ancient Iranian Plateau straight into the heart of familiar Western mythology. Section 5. Birth of the Iranian Nation. Theology meets society. Let's bring it back to the plateau, though. What happened to the folks who stayed behind? The biggest takeaway here is that they were the only branch of this massive Aryan diaspora to preserve their ethnic name forever. The word Iran actually stems from the plural of their racial name, Arya or Arya. So originally, Iran wasn't just the dirt they stood on, it was the name of the people themselves. It signified a unified identity. Now, as they settled down and their society really started advancing toward the late 2nd millennium BCE, their theology got an upgrade too. Ahur was elevated to be the absolute unseen supreme creator, taking on the title Ahura Mazda. Because there can only be one supreme creator in this new system, all the old beloved nature gods, even Mithra and Anahita, got a sort of divine demotion. They became Yazatas, which translates to angels or divine agents. They were still deeply respected, but now they were acting on behalf of Ahura Mazda. A really beautiful part of this evolving belief system was how they viewed the human soul. They believed in something called the Farvashis. These were immortal human souls that, after death, went up to reside in the stars. And the belief was that every single spring, during the month of Farvardin, these celestial souls would actually return to Earth to bless the living. To welcome them back, the ancient Iranians would light these massive, grand fires on high places. And remarkably, this exact ritual survives today. It is the direct origin of the modern Chaharshanbe Suri, the Red Wednesday Fire Festival celebrated right before the Persian New Year. That's thousands of years of continuous tradition. Let's move on and see how this cosmic order builds their day-to-day society, because it dictated everything. They developed a really complex hierarchy based on lineage. At the foundation, you had the Vish, which was a hamlet or a clan led by a Vispauti, basically the father of that community. Group a bunch of those together and you get a Dahaya, or a district. Eventually, the most powerful district leaders emerged as Kavis, these mythological kings who weren't just politicians but vital religious mediators connecting the people to the divine. And helping them were the elite Grama and Khairpan, officials who oversaw rights and handed down justice. It's like a giant puzzle coming together to form a highly structured nation. So, we've tracked this incredible journey, right? From a peaceful cosmic brotherhood through devastating climate crises and resource wars to the complex structuring of a society and the birth of a unified nation, which leaves us with this final, really provocative thought for you to chew on. If a climate shift in the 2nd millennium BCE had the power to fracture an entire pantheon of gods and permanently split a massive civilization, how drastically do our physical environments continue to shape our deepest spiritual beliefs today? Think about that, and we'll catch you next time. Keep exploring.